All I can say, if I were in your position, I would take with myself and hand over to someone else who is not compromised.
Thank you for supporting Views and Voice Media. In this video, we will listen to the panel of the PNP executive body, highlighting some points in the Integrity Commission report and breaking it down, explaining it in detail the seriousness of the IC finding. For instance, the Prime Minister opened an account without any money until a few days after it was flooded with couple millions. They look at tax compliance, why Holness was referred to the Financial Investigation Division, and why the Prime Minister and his cabinet should allow the investigation to go through without interference. Some people, what is your understanding to all of this? Please leave your views in the comment section below and let us have that discussion. Like, share, and subscribe for more. Let us get into it. Thank you.
Now, the other transaction which concerned me was the one where the account was opened at NCB. It was opened with no money in it. And I didn't know you could open an account with no money in it. A couple of days later, there was a deposit of a little over $143,000 US, which came from SSL. And in the context of the discussions which we have been having about SSL, I believe that the Prime Minister needs to address this and explain how and why that money came into his account from SSL. It was deeply concerning to me, and I'm sure that it must be deeply concerning to all the people who not only lost money, but know people who lost money, and you know the number one concern is what happened to borrowed money. Now, I'm not casting any aspersions on the situation. I'm just simply saying that the Prime Minister has to have a level of political sensitivity, and he has a duty to come to the country and explain some of these transactions to which we have been alerted by this report.
Comrade Leader, at the press conference that was held last week, you raised the issue of tax compliance and why it is troubling. For our viewers who might not have read the report or understand the issues surrounding tax compliance, I want you to explain it for them and why it's a problem.
Well, the report indicates that the tax returns for Mr. Holness's private companies, one called Imperium that he owns 100% of, and the others that are referred to in the report. For the 2021 year of assessment, financial year, they filed nil returns, meaning that they had no tax. They declared no taxable income and no taxable expenses, tax deductible expenses. Now, that the report says is inconsistent with the information provided to the Integrity Commission by Mr. Holness, which shows that these companies were in fact very active. They had receipts, they had expenditures. As I've said, over 400 million of transactions over the period was passing between these companies, to and fro. So, and the report makes specific reference to items of income that were earned during the period. So the report makes reference to a provision in the Income Tax Act, which makes it a criminal offense not to accurately report one's taxable income when you're filing returns. So this is another very serious matter. You know, the Prime Minister is the head of the government, and you know, he should not be filing tax returns which are not consistent with the reality of the transactions of those companies. So this is a big issue as well.
The concerns that we have seen in the public domain is that these two institutions to which the report from the Integrity Commission is referred to, Tax Administration Jamaica and the Financial Investigation Division, they both fall under the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service. The Minister reports to the Prime Minister. There's a sense of public concern that there might be interference or obstruction of the investigation. Senator Bunting, is that a legitimate position for members of the public to take?
Absolutely. The Prime Minister uses his own standard. When his ministers got into trouble, Wheatley, Ruel Reid,
Floyd Green,
Well, no.
Oh, it was a little different.
That was a little different. He got into trouble.
It was put in an article as well.
He was put in an article.
J.C. Hutchinson.
He told them they had to step aside. They had to leave the cabinet because it would not have been appropriate for them to remain and perhaps and have the risk or the perception that they could obstruct the investigation. Now, there's no minister in a stronger position to obstruct an investigation than the Prime Minister himself. He, for example, is going to determine who the replacement Minister of Finance will be. He, under whose portfolio the FID falls. The FID right now does not have a permanent chief technical director, I believe the post is called, or technical director. The head of FID was Selvin Hay, who retired a couple months ago. So it only has an acting head now. So there is not even any security of tenure for who is there. So the Minister of Finance is going to be very carefully selected. Let me just say that. We can expect that he or she will be very carefully selected. But I think the public is right to be concerned. I think any well-thinking person would be concerned. You cannot investigate yourself, or you cannot oversee those who are investigating you. That's just a basic principle. And we've seen over and over again where persons, whether in the private or public sector, that find themselves in such a position have to step aside to allow the investigation to be.
Some contend that he has not broken any code of ethics and therefore he should not step aside. In fact, some go as far as to say that he has been vindicated, given that the Integrity Commission engaged an international forensic accounting firm. They found nothing.
That's not true.
No,
that's not true.
That's what he said. So I want you to engage
No,
with that
they
perspective.
have. In fact, I would say the fact that the report has not been released, in my view, indicates to me that there may be potential down the road for the possibility of prosecution. And in any investigation, if you have that kind of information, you're not going to put it in the public domain. And we have to, and in fact, I think, again, it is in support of the Director of Investigation saying, let us refer to the FID. And I'm sure in their exchange of information, they have an MOU that they will provide as much information to the FID so that the FID can come to a conclusion about illicit enrichment.
And they're not restricted to providing the information in the public report. Their MOU allows them to exchange the report of the forensic investigator, anything else that they have.
Yeah. And it may well be that a lot of the information that we have here on the details of the transactions that the companies have entered into, that the forensic investigation that was done was helpful in getting some of this information. But as has been said, it's not sufficient to conclude the investigation, and it needs to be concluded. Why? Because the Prime Minister remains under a cloud. His Integrity Commission statutory declarations from 2021 onwards have not been certified, and the report indicates that they cannot be certified until the Integrity Commission is satisfied that they are in order. So it's very important that this matter be allowed to come to a conclusion. And I think it's reprehensible, the initial responses that we're hearing from the government side, suggesting that as far as they're concerned, this matter is at an end, it should not be referred any further, and so on. They're going to leave the Prime Minister under a cloud unless they let this matter be followed through to its end. And so I don't think that their responses really are helpful to his situation at all.
To me, they should be asking everybody to act hastily,
yes,
especially if they believe in his innocence, so that he can be cleared.
There is contrast. So the Prime Minister appointed his business partner and co-investor in his real estate company, Norman Brown, to the chairmanship of UDC and the Housing Association of Jamaica, which both, as Senator Bunting said, fall under the Prime Minister's portfolio. Why is there a conflict here?
Let's just say the UDC and HAJ are two of the biggest public sector agencies in terms of expenditures, right? They spend billions of dollars. They're also significantly in the business of construction,
Real estate
housing, real estate development, which is the same type of activity that the Prime Minister is in, right? So the significant conflict is that you're appointing your business partner to head these two entities. They are engaging contractors, spending billions of dollars, and your private company is also doing the same thing. It is a significant conflict. And that individual, Marky, there's been no adverse finding in relation to his conduct in either of the entities at this point in time. But frankly, that person should not be in that position. He should remove himself so that there is no conflict at all. And it shouldn't even come to this. The fact of the matter is that, 18 Degrees North highlighted this a couple months ago of his directorship in these companies and the conflict with his business relationship with the Prime Minister. He should have removed himself long ago.
Prevailing view that exists on this particular matter of conflict of interest is that in as much as the Integrity Commission has not laid a charge, so there's this issue of charge. So people see that once there's no charge being laid, then nothing is wrong. Tell me why the moral objection is still in place, still intact, still sound, even if there is no charge being brought.
It's interesting. The Integrity Commission developed a code of conduct for politicians. And in hindsight, it's instructive that every PNP member of Parliament sign that at the invitation of the Leader of the Opposition. Not a single member of the GLP signed that. And this code of conduct was largely based on the Nolan principles. 7
principles of good governance.
Of good governance, were widely accepted. There is nothing there that you could think of any well-thinking person would hesitate to sign. But yet no one has signed it. But the reason that these principles were developed was that for your leaders, you need a higher bar than criminal conduct. If those who say, well, they're not charged criminally, therefore everything is all right, then we've really hit rock bottom. And as the lawyers could explain, because you're not able to prove a criminal charge doesn't necessarily mean the person is innocent. It just means the prosecution cannot prove it. So they attempt to set these principles, which are at a much higher level, for you to avoid conflicts of interest, for you to conduct yourselves in such a way that you are not preferring your own wealth, your own balance sheet at the denial of the benefit to the taxpayers and so on. So I think it is really shameful that people are saying because we don't have a criminal conviction then everything is okay, or a criminal charge therefore everything is okay.
This is not a situation where the Prime Minister has been held to have not acted improperly. What they've said is that there's enough here that it warrants another agency with the necessary powers of investigation to take it to its logical conclusion. They need to get involved. So that is a cloud that is the Prime Minister is operating under now.